Okay, so here we have recursion 1 nestParen. Given the string, return true if it is a nesting of 0 or more pairs of parentheses. For example, opening, opening, closing, closing, or opening, 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 closing, closing, closing. Suggestion, check the first and last characters and then recur on what's inside of them. So let's go over the sample cases first. Of course, the first two sample cases were in this problem statement. Here we have a pair of opening and closing, and a pair of opening and closing. In between the final opening and closing, there is nothing. Given that all of this is true, we can conclude that this is a successful nesting of pairs or parentheses, and we return true. This is of course similar to the first string, except there's an extra pair of parentheses nested. If this is true, if this happens, of course we return true. Here, in the beginning, it seems similar. The first and the last are opening and closing. Next is opening and closing, but here we have an opening and an X. Because they are not just an opening and a closing, they are not a pair of parentheses, we return false because this is not a complete nesting. So this actually seems pretty straightforward. We are essentially just closing down on the string and consistently checking if the first and last character are opening and closing. If this is true, then we continue and look inside. In the end, if we have an empty string, then we can return true because we know that after going through all of the pairs of parentheses, there's nothing inside, i.e. it is a nesting of parentheses. If, for example, we end up with a string like this, that is not a pair of parentheses, we return false because this is not a successful nesting. Okay, so let's actually just implement this. This seems pretty straightforward. So first, if the string length is equal to 0, we can return true. The reason why is because, first of all, if the string starts off as 0, it says a nesting of 0 parentheses, so we can automatically assume that this is true. This might happen, or we might just go through all the pairs and end up with an empty string, which would be this string in the middle. If this is true, again, it is a successful nesting, and we return true. If the length is equal to 1, we return 1. This is because a pair of parentheses cannot exist in a string equal to length 1. Finally, we just check if the exterior characters are a pair of parentheses. So we will first get the first character and the last character. If the first character is equal to an opening parenthesis and the last character is equal to a closing parenthesis, it is a pair. We can just assume that those are now gone and just continue forward, checking if what is inside is also a pair of parentheses or a nesting of parentheses. If this is not true, we return false. If the first and last character are not equal to an opening and a closing, it is not a nesting of pairs of parentheses because this is not a pair of parentheses. For example, here, this is not a pair of parentheses, therefore it is not a nesting of pairs of parentheses, and we will return false. And that returns, yeah, it's all correct.